I'm happy that we're kind of leveling off on prices. Like, it had to happen, right?
265 days. And the first thing in the realtor notes is they must have a pre-approval. I was like, you're dead.
It is clearly a turning point market.
Money. You need to put it up for what the market will bear. It doesn't matter what you need. It doesn't matter what you want. I love you. I say that so kindly. It matters what a buyer wants to pay for it.
You know, Jess, we were just thinking, getting ready for this pod, and like we haven't gotten our intro, like verbiage down. Like most podcasts have something they say, like, you know,
Every time.
the one I listen to is a soccer podcast, and the guy who kind of is the moderator, he starts it every single time with the same like 8 second, little clip, like "Welcome to the blah blah blah," So we need to get some kind of little jingle going.
Well, maybe,
anyway,
or maybe that's boring. Maybe they don't know what to expect. We just come in hot.
just randomly pop into some mid conversation. Oh, if you're on the video, we gotta pop in from my cat. I was just predicting
just said
this.
it.
Pepper wanted to visit.
As soon as we hit record, Pepper jumps up. It's great.
Anyway, welcome everyone to another thrilling episode of the Living You podcast with Jess and Rich. We are back with you today. Today is July 16th, 2026, if you are listening to this in a timely manner. So it's midsummer in upstate New York. And the topic for today is essentially, what is the real estate? It's a very broad topic, and we'll see where we go with it. It's kind of, where does the real estate market locally, where we are, and maybe nationally, but what does it look like right now in this snapshot in time? And basically, is it really a shift in the market, or what are the changes, and what do the changes mean? Like, what's happening this summer that's different than the last couple of years, and how does it impact buyers? How does it impact sellers? And then let's just run with it, Jess, and see where we go.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely the topic because being, now full-time back in real estate, I see a shift. I see it. I feel it. So I definitely want to dive in and just, address it. Again, we don't know who listens to this thing. Is it consumers? Is it sellers and buyers? Is it other agents? I think we always try to speak to everybody so everybody can take a little bit away. So everybody really needs to know. And again, if you're not watching the market, and I know a homeowner, a buyer, like, how much do they really know about the market? Their uncle helps them, their neighbor tells them stuff, like there's not really the best information at hand really easily. So we try to bring that to you guys so you can always make informed decisions. And definitely now is the time to start disseminating some good information here.
Yeah, so two quick points. So sometimes we'll do, great points. So sometimes we'll do like a real data subset. We'll look at some numbers. We'll talk about what the market is really doing on the numbers basis, and we will do that again soon. But this is more of a more of an eagle eye view, kind of a zoomed out global view of what's happening and what the sensations are. It's more the feeling of things. I wanted to note just what you said, how what our audience is. It is for everyone. That's our intent, because we called this Living You fundamentally because we want this to be a podcast about our experience living our lives and talking to people who are living their lives. And we want everyone to just kind of experience, I don't know if that's a really weird way to put it, but I think an agent could hopefully get a lot out of this conversation. And I think a member of the community or public or consuming, real estate niche could get a lot out of this as well. Hopefully. Anyway, that's the idea. I think about this from one perspective, Jess. So you and I are agents, but we also own homes, right? You happen to love your home. I feel like from our conversations, you don't have any intent to change your residence anytime soon. At least that's not seemingly on your radar. You're constantly improving and changing things for the better. I'm a little bit different. I like where I live. I own my home. I'm happy, but I have my eye on my next step. So oftentimes in real estate, even right now, not only do I think what's my agent perspective, but I think about, would this be a good fit for me? Or would I be motivated to purchase this? Or like, is that a deal for me? Or is that a deal someone in my kind of avatar or my subset of culture or whatever? So there's that little bit of, now I'm not ready to buy a house tomorrow, but at the same time, I'm kind of keeping an eye on the market with a consumer mindset as well. Just because I'm like, if in 2 years it's ready to do something, have I had a short list of things that it's in the back of my mind. I always think, who's my nearest buyer in my kind of like my immediate list, my hot sheet, as it were, like who needs properties, who needs to sell properties, but also there's that little back of the mind. Does this make sense for me? Could this make sense for me? If
Hmm.
I was buying now, would I want this one, and why would I want this one?
Would
So
you hire an agent or would you represent yourself?
I would represent myself. I think I would. Yeah.
Oh, come on. That's fine. That is so fine. I did.
I
But
mean,
I
I might
think
even. God, I
I
wouldn't
tried to
hire
get an
a
agent.
buyer's agent. I might work with a listing agent and not take, try not to take, I don't know, take a commission, or wouldn't
Yeah, I
act
didn't take anything. Yeah.
necessarily agent-ish, but
Hmm.
I feel like I'm well enough informed that I don't need like the agent advice per se.
Well, what it helps with is it kind of cushions it a little bit. It pads it a little bit where it's not you kind of. I think we're so close because when I bought my house, I went directly to the listing agent, and we're off topic, but I went directly to the listing agent. And I did not take a commission. I was like, I want you to make all the commission because I want to win. I wanted to make it super easy for the agent. Being an agent, I know kind of what they go through, so I just tried to be really accommodating and helpful. At the same time, I had no poker face. I couldn't negotiate. I threw everything at it. Like, I think the market was sort of like that too, but I was like, I love it. I didn't know how to really represent myself at the highest level. So if you're emotional, which
Well,
you're not,
we went right into storytelling mode, but let's go into that. So this was what, 4 years ago you purchased? Because we purchased almost about the same time, I believe.
I saw my house September on my dad's birthday, September 25th, 2021.
2021 to 5 years. Okay.
Yeah. And then I
And at
moved
that
up
time,
full time.
that was a very different market than what we have today. So we'll get into
Oh
that.
yeah.
But so that was the buyer rush, the super low inventory crunch. Multiple offers were quite common, if not
Everything
like
was
by
like
default,
flying
multiple
off.
offers. So do you know if you were in a highly competitive purchase scenario at that
Yeah, it
exact
was.
moment?
Yep, there was other offers. But I knew how to talk, right? Like I knew the language and what I could do, what levers I could pull because I'm an agent. So I
Yep.
had a slight advantage. But I said, here's what is important to the seller, because this is how I've advised sellers in the past. I waived the contingencies, like I made it super easy. Like I'm still going to have an inspection, and I still advocate for the buyer to have an inspection. Like in the past, we've waived
Hmm.
the waiver is fine, but you should still have it for informational. So I made that very clear. I'm not going to come back and negotiate. So I said to the agent, my offer may be 10,000 less right now, but the one that's 10,000 more, I have a bridge. I'm like, they may come back with some stuff. So I'm going to increase. I came up 10,000 because there was another offer 20,000 over mine, which they're also not supposed to tell you, but she did. Um, so I'm like, all right, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'll come up another 10,000. I'm going to waive all the things, and I'm going to move forward at that, and that's what she presented.
Yep. Yeah. Anyway, we don't need to go into too many details on your
I mean,
specific
that's
property,
a
but I
lot
will
of
tell you one
details.
thing. I've told you this. I've told you this multiple times. It would take a lot for me to buy your property is beautiful, but that bridge, I would want like, 17 engineering inspections and a 40-year use case study, and like
Anybody else
what's
would.
the alloy of this steel beam, and what's its like, weight rating and all this jazz.
I mean, I just learned recently they may not be I beams, they may be H beams. Who knew that there were H beams out there in the world? I may have H's, not I's. I don't know. I don't care. When it gets wobbly, we fix it. Yeah, it's a monster.
But anyway, okay, so that puts us into uh, what's happening right now. So on a global perspective, what is happening in the U.S., or let's fine tune it down to the Northeast U.S. or maybe even upstate New York. But this summer specifically, we have seen consistently increasing number of listings. That means more agents are putting more properties on the market. And this is across the board from all price brackets and price ranges. So more high-end homes, more mid-end homes, more low-end homes. Simultaneously, the buying pool has a almost historically low affordability. We are up against uh, economic factors that are just happening to our domestic population that makes every penny matter. The cost of goods is increasing. It could be everywhere from geopolitical things happening that increase costs, tariffs, whatever. We don't need to go into politics per se, but just everyone feels the pinch. And That's basically the equation, right? More houses available. Buyers have choice, but they also can't probably get exactly what they want as long as sellers remain stuck in this mindset from 4 or 5 years ago, like when we were just talking about our purchases, where the seller was calling all the shots, they were naming their price, and they were pretty much getting it. So is that a decent summary of where we're at? And so now the dynamics are much more balanced, if not even a little bit buyer power oriented, where, hey, do you want me to buy your house or not? Like, basically.
I mean, as soon as a buyer, in my opinion, as soon as a buyer has more than five choices, 8 houses to look at, 10 houses to look at, the seller is not in a strong position anymore because they
Mm-hmm.
can just go get another one. So that's kind of what I've been feeling. Buyers are quick to, the buyers at least I've been, speaking to, they're quick to, I don't want to say give up, but they're quick to just say, you know what, that's not going to work for me. I'm going to go explore this option because they can. And you know what?
Mm-hmm.
They should. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
normal. You shouldn't just come in and I have to buy this. I have to make an offer. I have to waive all these things. I have to feel rushed. No, we also don't want to put people in a situation, which is not the whole story, but when we had the crash in 2009, it's because the banks were lending to people that had no business buying houses because they just wanted to close a freaking loan. Well, don't be that person. Don't be that agent. Be responsible. Let people have choice. Let people have say over what's happening. Let them think about it. They have to really know what things cost. They have to really know you don't just buy a house, you're also buying a bunch of repairs.
Mm-hmm.
Every house needs something. So if they're going to be cash poor at the end, or they're house poor, they say, or they're not going to have enough cash to fix something if they need to. I mean, you got to be really responsible and kind of let them take the time they need to take. They may not jump on it when you want them to. Also, and I think that's okay. I think that's healthier. I think that's better. If it's harder to afford something, then they have to be more discerning and they have to be
Yep.
more careful. So I think the
100%.
minute that they have other options, we're in a buyer's market.
So, I mean, I think that's the summary of what we can say is essentially, so if we were to break this down into, what's your one main talking point or piece of advice for a buyer right now? Is yours, am I understanding yours is keep looking until it feels right? Is that your
I,
summary?
I think my summary is see enough. I don't necessarily think keep looking because that's an endless cycle. And
Yeah,
sometimes you can
sorry,
see
that's
too
maybe
much.
poorly
Yeah,
worded.
that's
100%.
fine. Because I don't want them to get into an endless cycle of what's next, what's next. Let's just wait till next week. Let's just wait till next week. Let's just wait till next. If you find something that feels really good, that's 80 to 85% perfect. That's the house. Like nothing's going to be
Yeah.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say see enough. Try to see them as closely together as you can. So I like to take buyers out for like a day and see like 10 houses. And I'm like, eat your Wheaties, wear your sneakers, bring some water, like get a cooler bag. And I had a buyer do that, which was amazing. And we were joking about it halfway through the day. She's like,
Oh
it's a good
yeah,
thing
they
you prepped me for this.
they
Because
bring
I,
sandwiches and
oh
a cooler.
yeah.
Oh, yep, yep, yep.
And then we went out for dinner. We were together from 9 a.m. to like 6 o'clock that night. Like we went out, but they also don't live in the area. But I think see enough, see a lot, be able to compare on a high level, talk through all the things, see where you can make sacrifices. But I would say see enough. Ask the questions you need to ask. Know that nothing's going to be perfect. Don't waive your inspection contingency. You can say, I'm sorry, don't waive your inspection. You can waive the contingency. You can say, I'm going to have the inspection for informational only. It won't be contingent if you need to, sweeten the pot for the seller.
If
If
you
you
need to sweeten it.
don't,
Yeah.
go through your inspection, go through
Yeah.
it.
As
Know
a
that
as a
there's going to be
buyer,
3,000 things on there too, but and then just see what you can tolerate because every house is going to throw something at you. So don't be scared by that. Take what you can tolerate.
yep. I like that. I like all of that in terms of the buyer side. Yeah, if people are listening from outside of our general area, so we're fairly rural, fairly spread out. So you might find the six ideal or at least closest to ideal properties, but they might have 2.5, 3 hours of driving in between those properties. We're not exactly like a neighborhood, 5 minutes from a neighborhood, 5 minutes from a neighborhood. We are pretty spread out in our area. So to find that ideal, you plug in your perfect search, you might have 8 properties and they're pretty far apart. So that makes that buying loop an adventure.
Yeah, I try
But yeah,
not to do that. So yeah, if you know your general area, like I try to group them. But we still have a lot of buyers that are coming up. Just a little point here. There's still a lot of investors, still a lot of buyers coming up. Like I want to buy a baseball rental. Like, and I want to say, listen, so I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, do your own research, but I feel like we're a little saturated with that. I'm starting to see pushback in the platforms, the Oneana platform. Like there's a lot of people talking about, hey, well, half the houses on this block are, just transient renters from week to week. Like you're operating a hotel at this point. This is not a residence anymore. So some of the communities are starting to push back. Milford specifically, I just listed a house with 2 units in it, and I asked right on the page, like, what's going on with baseball rentals in Milford? They're like, there's a moratorium. There's a 2-year moratorium. You can't even apply for that and get, approval anymore. So just know that as well, like from area to area, do your due diligence, know what you can do in each area. And that's going to be really important now too, because some of these places are shutting that down.
yep. All things to be aware of. Our general coverage area has two kind of hotspot for short-term rentals. There's this southern southeastern Delaware County section with towns like Margaretville, Andes, Bovina, Fleischman's, kind of the proper Western Catskills. The hills are a little bit steeper. They're a little bit more lush and green. They're really robust valleys, really beautiful landscapes. Feels mountain-ish. We're in really lovely rolling country where we are. Open agricultural fields, rolling hills, broad valleys. I feel like some kind of a geographic like documentarian here, but there is a difference. But the key thing there is that that's a 2 to 2.5 hour drive from New York City. So for your New York weekend getaway niche, which is a very robust niche, um, those became ideal second homes to have. And also, oh, by the way, if I own this cool house, I might as well rent it out short term. So that was a big thing and still is. But you're right. Those towns also have some limits. You have to be a little bit careful about, look, you want to be a good neighbor, right? So, first of all, know the code, know what the town is allowing before you purchase. And also
Yes.
just, if you're going to do it, manage it well. And then secondarily, the other nexus is this Oneonta, Cooperstown, these youth baseball tournaments that are happening all summer long. These groups, these teams come with all the parents, and I mean the grandparents and the
Baseball.
siblings and the cousins,
Yeah.
and the
Baseball.
kids stay on site, but the other group, the family or whatever, have to go somewhere. And there's not a lot of hotels in our area, so it turns into a big short-term industry. But yes, some of those towns are pretty saturated, and some of those towns are now inputting moratoriums on those permits for those short-term rentals. So just it's an evolving industry, of course. But if I was doing it right now, I'd look at some of the listings that are out there on those markets, and I would see what is their occupancy rate, what is their historical trend, and if you see nice places that aren't fully booked, that means there might be too many options for those as well.
Yes, for sure. I'm glad that you noted though the Southern Delaware kind of Airbnb market down there, the short-term rental market. That was actually I stayed at one. It was a little further down, but that's how I knew I wanted to buy a house here because I literally like left Queens, went up, like stayed at a house with another couple, another friends of ours, and we were just outside sitting on a deck surrounded by trees. There was a hammock. We barbecued, and I was like, I I can't function right now. Like I lost my mind. I was like, wait a minute, this could just be my life. And
Yeah.
that was so it was interestingly enough, it was a short-term rental stay that I was like, I could do this. It's like every time you go on vacation, you say, I could buy a house in Bermuda, right? When you go on vacation, you always think, oh, I could probably live
Yeah,
here.
of course, of
That's the
course.
classic. I fell victim to that. I did it. No regrets.
Well, everyone, you did it. You pulled the trigger. You did it. There's a lot of context for everyone has their own life context, right? I just had this small anecdote conversation with a consumer yesterday inquiring on a property. He goes into this little narrative of like literally, look, here's my situation. I retire in 2 years. I'm not going to live there right full time right now, but I would like this to be my forever home, or at least my forever home area. And right now I live on quote unquote a postage stamp, on Long Island, and
Yes.
taxes are almost 20 grand a year for my
No.
little
Oh,
whatever it is.
holy
And we were
moly.
discussing this one property. I'm like, look, this is on, basically 10 acres, log cabin house, and the taxes are for us kind of high, 6,000 a year in total. But he was like,
That's
yeah,
a dream.
that's a dream for him, So
Oh yeah.
these are just different. It's just different contexts of life.
Yeah, and we have now, and I think that's what we've done. We've moved up, right? Big money from the big city has moved up. We've pushed the prices up the last few years. We've priced out people in the primary market. We've made it completely unaffordable. And I'm saying I'm literally taking responsibility for part of this. And, so again, being responsible in that way, not inflating prices, but we've done that to the point that now it's just so unaffordable for a lot of people. We always talk about the affordability index, although we never know how the algorithm works. We always talk about that when we do the monthly market updates. It's not that affordable for people. So, of course, you're going to get slammed into, the other foot drops, the other shoe, not foot, the other shoe drops. And it's like, oh, look, here we are now. A buyer said, no, stop. I'm not paying that. I'm not doing that. That is ridiculous and unaffordable. The salaries don't increase at the same rate that housing increases, right? So I can't afford that now. So either
Yeah.
now they have to buy something lesser that really doesn't fit their needs, that's going to squeeze them a little bit in terms of space and comfortability, just to be able to comfortably afford something. They're making a lot of sacrifices. And you know what? I'd be like, if I don't have to move right now, I may not. I'm not messing with it. And again, where are the sellers going to go? Now, sellers have waited all this time. Remember, we were like, where's the inventory? They waited, they waited, they waited, they waited, they waited. They all
They
waited
waited till
until now.
2026. Yep.
And yeah, and
Yep.
also historically speaking in the market, we do have a cyclical market, right? When we say like the winter, it's going to die out because no one wants to go out in February. And July, when you get to the 4th of July, like I know the market's going to go to the end of June. And I told a lot of people, please come on now. Let's go on May, June. Let's go. I'm telling you, it's your last chance. Like I felt very strongly. 4th of July happens. You make a left turn on the market anyway. People are vacationing. They're doing their things. They're not looking now.
Mm.
And
Mm.
yeah, and I'm starting to see that was when it was literally the first week in July when things started to die down. And just know that too, that now we're in kind of a traditionally slower period while inventory is coming on. So it's this, again, this bizarro mix of more inventory coming on, but buyers are like, I'm going to be away next week. I can't look at something right now, right? And now they're busier because they're back from vacation, and so there's just a lot of other factors through the summer as well to be aware of that I
Yeah,
think
I'll
is,
push back on you a little bit. Again, we didn't
yeah.
want to do a pure data dive, but I don't want to correct you per se, but I do think our general data in our area suggests that the higher number of closings are in this summer period, even all the way through September, October is actually kind of a decent spike, and then it does fall off November, December, January. But anyway, I think this, I
But
think
that's been
your
in
point,
recent years. Yeah,
that's been
that's been
recent
in
years. I think
recent
your
years.
point is that
Yeah,
this
it's
year
not
might be
going
a
to
little
look like
different.
that. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's not going to look like that. I mean, to some extent it could, but a lot of
Well,
inventory and not a lot of contracts is a completely opposite from what we're used to.
so I did think of an interesting kind of a not a conflict, but a divergence. So we were literally 4 or 5 minutes ago talking about the New York City buyer pool who want to purchase properties here. Great, that is a significant chunk of our business. However, we live here. A lot of people live here full time. This is our life, and I think this is one of the big polarities in our area. Is you have a certain buyer populace that maybe have a little bit more means to purchase at a price that doesn't feel as painful to them, right?
Hmm.
And then you're up against locals who are in a much more difficult situation. They are the ones that are making the local salaries. They're paying the local expenses, and they're finding, or historically for the last few years, they have found it very hard to purchase homes because they're up against that other contrasting momentum. So, and the inventory was low. So now at least they have more choice and they might have less competition, which is great. I think the only thing left is that the affordability is still low. The asking prices are still probably elevated compared to what the property is truly worth, like truly worth in the market. Um, but I think they have more chance to find a property now because there's a lot of choice. But at the same time, it has to make economic sense for that buying group. So I'm like, we work for buyers and sellers, and we have to know the market for a number of reasons. But on like a weird personal level, I'm happy that we're kind of leveling off on prices, and like it had to happen, right? The market
Oh yeah,
is
it had to
cyclical. The
happen.
market has ups and downs over time, and we were way too elevated for way too long. So if you were in real estate to truly just profit, then you probably should have sold a year or two ago, right? Truly.
Yes.
If you're in real estate because you own a house, because you have a life and you have things happening in life, then own it. And that is part of, you sell when you have to sell, you buy when you have to buy, and that's kind of like, you just don't overthink it.
Because it's
But
always
if
going to
you're
be up, right? It's always going to
yeah,
be up some, right? If it's up 4% or if it's up
yeah,
10%, like it's always going to be up. I mean, the statistic always was that we should double check it, but like if you're in the house 7 years at least, yeah. I
yeah,
mean, the market, even if it corrects a little and comes down, it's going to continue to go up again. It's again,
yeah,
like we said, that cyclical. So it'll still go up, but you have to do what's best for you on your timeline. If you got to move for a job, move for the job. Like it is what it is. Do what you can, like liquidate, but be smart. Be smart. I want to get more money. I love that you want to get more. This is why talking to a few different agents, some agents will be like, yeah, they're just going to tell you that because they just want to get your listing. I don't know
mm-hmm,
why. I don't want your listing
mm-hmm,
if it's overpriced because it's not going to
mm-hmm,
sell. And then I'm going to
mm-hmm.
be dragging you through the mud. Let's do a reduction. Let's do another reduction. Let's do another reduction. Then what does that look like?
We've
Now you're
we're
chasing down the market. And now you're not going to get anything. So don't, I want to get more money. You need to put it up for what the market will bear. It doesn't matter what you need. It doesn't matter what you want. I love you. I say that so kindly. It matters what a buyer wants to pay for it. And right now it's difficult for them to afford things. So just know that. Just keep that in the front of your brain. If your realtor says, listen, the difference between listing at, for example, 469 versus 449, 449 might get it done. I know you want an extra 20 grand, but no one's going to call. Maybe you need to be just south of that 450 number. So just be
yeah,
strategic in terms of what a buyer is really searching for, what are they looking for. Um, and the higher you go, the less buyers you have.
yeah. And what we've talked about as well is that agents that are doing proper comp analyses, they're kind of stuck on old elevated data, which is the tricky
Yes.
part. So if I do my job correctly, I'm probably going to tell you what is kind of a wrong number right now. I almost have to make like a summer 2026 like adjustment on the comp. If the comp
Yep.
is 6 months old, that was a property on the market a year ago or whatever, and things were different. So again, there's a lot of like, I'm not going to say, again, we lean into agent skills all the time, but this is the conversation. It's like, hey, my true comp base is based on, the real estate that was on the market between, 3 and 6 or 9 months ago, depending on the uniqueness of the property. That
Yeah.
is
And it's
kind of old data, and things are
so
changing.
old.
So we need to be on the cusp of what's actually happening now.
Yeah.
So that was kind of buyer centric, and I don't want to do too much time on seller, but what is your one message, Jess, for a seller this summer?
I mean, I may have just said it, but so I'll say something different. I think besides being real careful with pricing, um, the house has to be a great option. So, for example, I just had somebody do a lot of work in a house. I love that they're doing work. I love that they're fixing it, put new floors, beautiful. And then, like, it came up, well, should I do new appliances too? And I'm looking at these old, dirty, disgusting, filthy, like they smell. And I'm like, yes, you've spent this much, go the extra mile. So I can say the kitchen's fully done, right? So I would say, traditionally, I don't want sellers to go in and spend a lot of money. So I don't think you
Hmm.
should do that until you speak to a realtor. Like, it's never too early to bring in your realtor. I'm
100%.
selling in 6 months. I'm selling in 9 months. Call me now. I don't listen. I'm not going to pressure you to list it tomorrow. You're not ready. That's when you call a realtor because you need their advice. What should I do? What should I not do? Because you're going to spend way too much money. But my message is you should probably spend something. Get it decluttered. I paid a cleaning lady because I was like, this woman did so much. I feel bad. So I actually took a cost on myself after she had it all done. It just needed to shine. So I got a cleaning lady. So do those things. Get it really decluttered. Get it really organized. Get a storage unit. I know you don't want to take on more cost. Get a storage unit and move stuff out of the house. The house shows really beautifully. It's got to look great right now to be the winner. Because if I can look at 8 other houses, the one that's cluttered, that doesn't smell good, that's not clean, they're going to be pickier and they're not buying your stuff, but they're not seeing past it. So,
Yep.
so your house has to shine. I would say do everything you can, but don't do too much. We don't want you to spend a lot of money. So get with your agent now as
Yeah.
you prepare and see what you should do. Because I had someone painting baseboards. I'm like, don't paint, don't, what? Stop. Don't do that. You're hurting
Oh no,
yourself.
see, I was actually going to say that's a thing that I like actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but a dirty baseboard versus like the stove doesn't work well. You gotta
You'd be
weigh it.
surprised what pops in the buyer's mind though when you. And so anyway, so I'll tell you what mine are, and I largely agree. I don't think at this point you should do any renovation or major overhaul for the purpose of selling. Let that next person put their own imprint on it. However, like you said, you don't want things that are broken, whatever. Like I think just the deferred maintenance and anything that looks like neglect or this person, like it's sort of like I don't know, man. We're in upstate New York real estate, so I don't necessarily dress the finest every single day, right? I'm half the time I'm out in some sweaty in some woods, so I wear like t-shirts or at least like relatively low key, casual-ish clothing. But there are times when I think, ooh, should I have like if I'm in front of a client, should I have spruced myself up a little more? Now,
Always.
now I always think, okay, my communication should shine through, my integrity should shine through, but some people looks matter. I think the same thing of a home, right? It's like this might be a fine home. It might have a lot of potential, but honestly, if you spend 2 days mopping, cleaning, dusting, vacuuming up the flies in the corners, the ladybugs, whatever it is, that kind of stuff goes so far. You trim the sidewalk, get rid of the weeds. That kind of stuff is so important because it looks like you care. It
It
looks like a
looks like you
property
care.
someone would want to care about.
Looks like someone
If it
maintained it.
if it looks unmaintained, it's like, well, this thing's
They've
already so far
neglected.
gone.
Right.
Yep.
What else have they neglected? What else wasn't
Yep.
done? What else has to
100%.
be repaired? 1,000%.
Yep. It's the appearance of care is what it is.
And the big ticket items, like the things that people always ask about, for example, like when was a septic pumped? If you haven't had your septic pumped in a little while, do it. To be able
Yep.
to say it was pumped last year and there was no issues,
Oh, that's such a good one.
thousand
It's a
percent.
what is it, a $500 job, Jess? You
Yeah,
probably make
ju-
three thousand
come on,
dollars just in peace of
yes,
mind with being able to say,
yes.
I have a receipt
Pump your
from a
septic.
yeah,
Yes, it's a
cleaned,
great
visually
day.
inspected.
And the
This is
water
good to go
too.
for 10 years, you know.
Yeah, and the water, the well, and stuff like have the well, have the water flow tested, have the quality of the water tested, and then maybe you'll find something that actually is like a safety issue that you should correct anyway because you live there.
Yeah, it's all
Like
that
so,
stuff.
water and
It's
septic is huge, and then the other thing I would say is the age of
cleaning the
mechanical.
gutters, moss on the roof. You know, there's a million things,
Moss
but
on the
those
roof,
are all
you're
the things.
dead. You're dead. You better get up there with a toothbrush. Age of mechanicals, right? So if you haven't replaced anything, it doesn't mean you have to. I'm just saying that's a big ticket item for a buyer to judge. They're gonna be like, oh,
Yep.
well, the water heater is 20 years old. Like, am I actually gonna get hot water out of there? And then if your basement or if there's any that mildewy kind of that water smell, that's a big thing. As soon as something's musty or they see water damage coming down a wall, they don't care that you put a new roof on it actually. They don't care that the windows are new. You left that cosmetic shit there. They think it's leaking today. So
100%.
that those would be I think the top things to do. Because if I can tell somebody you don't have to do anything but the cosmetic, that is a good story. That is something I can sell because you don't have to do any of this other stuff. The big stuff is done, or at least well cared for, pumped, maintained, cleaned up. So that would be those would be my
Yeah.
things. Is there anything you would add to that, Rich?
Well, no, I think those are the main ones. I would. This is maybe a little deeper in the weeds in terms of some agents and how they approach things, but so in the heavy seller power market where they called the shots, you could always say like, I need to see your pre-approval or proof of funds before you enter my
Oh
home.
my
how
God, this is such
how
a good
dare
one.
you look at a house? I feel like
How
setting that
dare
gate
you?
that kind of gatekeeping is a
Yeah.
little bit like obnoxious at this point, where
Yes.
if you truly want to sell, let someone look. And if it
Let
takes
them
them
look.
60 days to figure out their stuff, then let them are you selling? Are you getting 8 offers tomorrow? No, you're not. So at the same time, like, if I'm an agent, I'm not gatekeeping like that, or I'm not advising my seller to gatekeep like that. I'm
I'm
like, I
so
want
glad you
eyes
said
on your
this.
property. I want visits. I want showings. I want feedback. I want to get people interested. And I don't want to say just off the bat, well, where's your documents?
No, I will
You,
never. So, yeah, I have to tell you, as an agent, I will not ask for jack shit. I want them in the house because
well, your
here's what I'm
seller can
hearing more.
instruct you to ask for that, just to be clear.
They
But
can,
yeah,
but I'm also going to advise them and I'm going to
yeah.
walk them through a scenario. So, what happens when the buyer says to me, I just need to find the thing, the very special thing
Hmm.
that was going to prompt me to want to pull my credit, get documents together. Like,
Hmm.
again, they're busy, they have things
Hmm.
going on. So, sometimes they have to find the house. I
Yep.
think that's okay.
I
So
think
the
that's
way I
okay.
solve for that, I have open houses, right? And I would say to a seller, and all my sellers know I'm open house girl, and I'm going to have open houses, so that I would say to that buyer, listen, I'm going to do an open house on Saturday. Just come then. It doesn't matter because anybody can walk in. I don't gatekeep at all. And I'm very upfront about that. I mean, if a creepy neighbor comes in, I'm gonna be like, "Hey, dude, you gotta go." Like, don't think and people don't just come in. Like, I think there's this feeling, and I had someone say to me, "Make sure no one brings dogs in." I don't know anyone that brings dogs to open houses, but okay, I will be on the lookout for dogs. Your jewelry needs to be put away, right? Like your valuables and stuff. Don't have just stuff out everywhere. Like, clean things up, put things away. But the open house kind of solves for that a little bit. But don't gatekeep. I'm so glad you said that because I see houses like there was one recently. It's on days on market. It's like 265 days. And the first thing in the realtor notes is they must have a pre-approval. I was like, you're dead. You're
Yeah.
freaking dead. 265 days. I would have had everybody and their mother
They
if
must
they
have a
only had
cult.
2 pennies to rub together. I'd have showed them that house because maybe they know somebody. Maybe they're going to talk about it now. Maybe they're going to attract the buyer. Maybe it's not them. But you've got to let everybody see everybody in, please. And thank you for saying that.
Yeah. Those are I
It's
do
a
get it. I
hot
mean,
button.
whatever. There was a different time when that was maybe more, and of course you were allowed to, every situation is unique, but in general, that document is secondary to getting the interest, I think.
I hate to say this too, but it popped into my head and I don't have a filter. There are some agents that I feel like weaponize that. I
Hmm.
hate to say that, but I think there's agents that maybe don't want to work with an agent or don't want to work with you specifically. So they put up more roadblocks so that you can't
Hmm.
show it, so that maybe they're going to let a direct buyer in that doesn't have an agent. I know I hate to even go there, but I felt like sometimes like you can see people's history like in the MLS, like the ones that
Oh my
co-broke
goodness.
and
The
the
more,
ones
I
that
mean, we
don't.
could talk about this for days. The more that you interact with people out in the sphere of doing business, you'll hear all these stories about how they've been mistreated by agents in the past, or the last time I bought and sold, this happened and I couldn't believe this. And you're like, they did
Wait,
what now?
what?
Like, just for everything from like taking people's furniture to like,
Yes,
you're
that's
like, what is happening? What was
yeah,
happening or what is happening?
dug
It's
up the
wild out there.
flowers, dug up the flowers, I've been told
Ugh.
recently. Came back
Ugh.
after closing and dug up his flowers. What?
Like, I shouldn't say this. I have multiple properties right now that are either in contract or soon will be or soon will sell, and they're kind of selling like as is, meaning a lot of the stuff will stay. There's a lot of cool stuff there. I'm not like taking inventory and grabbing stuff, and if I were to do that, I would
You're gonna
talk to
get
the
permission.
seller specifically and take, "Look, can I? These are two cool things. Can I have these? Whatever." I would like. I've never done it yet, but there's a lot of cool stuff in some of these properties. But I
Oh,
would
I
never
do.
just like, oh, they said it all goes. It doesn't matter. Like, no way, zero chance that I'm just taking someone's stuff,
No, when
even if
they
they,
tell me
even if
that, I tell them, well, I actually really like that couch. So they're like, yeah, take it. Like, I will ask, but I have an Amish barn full of furniture from many different properties because
that you had
I
permission
I
to
had a conversation, yeah,
extract.
and a lot of times like I sell, a lot of times we get vacant houses, right? So I have a house right now that the seller's actually in out of state. So I'm doing a lot of stuff like for them and meeting contractors and doing all these things. And the first thing they said was, we got to get all this furniture out of here. I said, no, don't do that. We're going to stage it with the furniture that's here. I'm going to make it better, because also walking into a naked house, it's harder for people to see stuff. So I've stopped people from like decluttering and getting rid of stuff. I'm like, let's declutter to a certain extent, but keep the home staged, I think now is a really good piece of advice, because
it's good to see the dimensions and space.
It's good to see the dimensions, because I'm telling you that living room, if you were to take, they have a big couch in this particular listing. If you were to take that couch out, the living room is going to shrink to like half the size. It just is. I just know that living room is going to shrink. So we have a little sitting area. We have like a little bookshelf. Like I was like, leave it. And when we're in contract, then we can start scraping things out. And I said, don't worry, I can help you with that if you want. And she laughed. She's like, you take whatever you want, honey. I said, when we're in contract, I'll take whatever the buyer doesn't want, because the buyer may want stuff. And that's huge value to a buyer too. If you can sell a house fully furnished, so they don't have to buy stuff, that's a great selling point for my seller. That makes that house that much better. Again, everything we can do to make it super comfortable for a buyer, we should do.
Yep. Those are I think that's a good end point for that summary of the seller topic, because that is true. Now, I'm not saying you should automatically include a bunch of stuff, but acquiring things is hard, right? Acquiring furniture, acquiring lawn equipment, whatever it is. And if you have stuff that's in good order and it's desirable, that does help sweeten that pot a little bit as well.
And if they don't want it, that's okay too. But you don't know who's going to buy it. The day you sign a listing agreement, you don't know who's going to buy it. So we're not going to make decisions ahead of time. We're going to leave options. Don't make decisions for the buyer. Leave options for the buyer. That's also, that's probably the best advice I could give you.
Yep. I like that. So I think that wraps up my intent to cover kind of where we feel things are at the moment in this midsummer. It is clearly a turning point market. It's different than it's been for the last few years. It's engaging, I think, as an agent, because there's lots more nuance to negotiations. There's lots more nuance to presentation. I like that both parties in the transaction have like things they can kind of hold on to that are important to them, rather than like conceding, just you have to concede ground left and right if you're on one side. So anyway, it's not like I don't see real estate as a battle, but
it shouldn't be.
Like, you should be able to get kind of what you want.
It shouldn't be. And I think, again, one of the last pods we did was like, the skills-based market. What does that mean? A lot of times it means get out of your own way, right? Mm-hmm. Some agents, not a lot of them, there are some that sort of have an ego and sort of have to insert themselves in we don't do it like that. We do it this way. You got to be wide open right now. I think you got to like really listen, because every deal is going to be different. And it should be different. And if you're rigid in your process and what you say and what you do, you're going to miss out. I'm telling you, don't be rigid right now in this market. There's going to be weird stuff. Let's do it. Let's go and be weird right now and get this done for my client. So yeah, don't be too rigid too. And just say, well, we don't do that. Please don't do that. Please stay out of your way. Because you might have to do it to get it done, is my advice.
I like that as a wrap up. So thanks everyone for hanging out with us on this mid-July Living You episode, and we'll catch you on the next one.
We definitely
anything
will.
Else, Jess?
No, I think this was great, and please make sure that you guys are liking, sharing, following, doing all the things. If there's something that you like or resonate with, we want to hear from you. We want to comment. If you want to, again, suggest an episode, you want us to cover something, we want to know. We want to know. So do those things. Enjoy your summer. Stay in because it's smoky. Yeah. And we'll catch you on the next one.